The sudden devastation of Pompeii by Mount Vesuvius in 79 AD was tragic. However, the rapidity of its destruction wasn't the most disturbing aspect. There were even more horrifying elements to the catastrophe. The tragedy at Pompeii was worsened by two festivals occurring simultaneously. According to Pompeii, an archaeological guide, the Pompeians were celebrating a multi-day festival in honor of Emperor Augustus, who had died 65 years earlier and was recently deified. The town's streets were bustling with festivities, including street musicians, fortune tellers, plays, and athletic events. Performers, athletes, visitors, and tourists from outside Pompeii had flocked to the town for the celebrations, significantly increasing the population. This influx of people resulted in a higher death toll when Mount Vesuvius erupted. Moreover, the day before the eruption was Vulcanalia, a festival dedicated to Vulcan, the god of fire and volcanoes. Despite visible signs of the impending eruption, such as smoke, small earthquakes, and loud rumblings, the townspeople misinterpreted these warnings. Because of Vulcanalia, they saw these signs as positive omens from Vulcan, who they believed was busy at his forge inside Mount Vesuvius and pleased with their celebrations. This misinterpretation led them to feel secure rather than evacuate, ultimately contributing to the high number of casualties. The disaster at Pompeii was exacerbated not only by the timing of the festivals, but also by the weather conditions. Perspective Weather notes that in August, winds in that region of Italy typically blow in a southwesterly direction. If this had happened during the eruption, the ash and deadly gas would have blown away from Pompeii. Although the city would still have faced the heat and lava, these weren't the primary causes of death. With the ash and gas blowing in the usual direction, many more people might have survived. However, on that fateful day, the wind blew northwest, directly toward Pompeii. This shift not only doomed the town, but also trapped many residents. Pompeii is situated on a bay, and some people attempted to escape by ship. However, Pliny the Younger, the only eyewitness to document the event, reported that the wind was blowing not inshore, preventing terrified residents, including his own uncle, from fleeing by sea. This unexpected change in wind direction blocked the most effective escape route. The unusual wind pattern that day has led some historians to question the eruption's date. The Australian National Maritime Museum suggests that this atypical wind direction could indicate the eruption occurred in autumn, later in the year than initially believed. This theory arises from the unusual weather conditions that contributed to the high death toll, as the wind direction during autumn would have been different from the typical summer pattern. Given that the people of ancient Rome lived around 2,000 years ago, it's easy to feel disconnected from their lives. However, Pompeii offers a rare and intimate glimpse into their final moments. We don't just see skeletal remains, we can actually observe the terror etched on their faces at the moment of death, making the tragedy feel profoundly real. During excavations in the early 1800s, archaeologists discovered that skeletons were often encased in voids within the compacted ash. By pouring plaster of Paris into these spaces, they created detailed casts of the victims' last moments. These casts reveal the precise positions people took as the ash engulfed them, capturing their final desperate attempts to escape. Among the findings are even animal casts, such as a dog writhing in apparent agony. These haunting details bring the destruction of Pompeii to life, bridging the gap between ancient history and our present-day understanding of human suffering.
We find several groups together, 3 people together, 4 people together. It seems that they may be helping each other.
Modern technology has taken our understanding of Pompeii's victims further. In 2015, CAT scans of the plaster casts revealed details about their ages, sexes, and health. These scans allowed the reconstruction of faces like a terrified 4-year-old boy and a baby asleep on its mother's lap. Giovanni Babino, the lead radiologist on the project, noted the profound insights gained from these scans. Working with these casts was extremely moving. It felt like I was dealing with real patients. Pliny the Younger provides our only eyewitness account of Pompeii's destruction, written over 2 decades later. His account reveals the profound impact the event had on him. At 18, Pliny was living across the bay in Misenum when the eruption began. His uncle, Pliny the Elder, a naval commander, sailed to Pompeii to rescue people, leaving Pliny and his mother to escape Misenum on their own. They eventually left their house due to the danger of earthquakes and the accumulating ash. As panic spread through the town, false rumors of fires in Misenum caused further chaos. Pliny described the harrowing experience, noting that the most terrifying aspect was the overwhelming noise. The strength of the earthquakes and the weight of the ash forced them to constantly move and shake off the ash to avoid being crushed. His vivid recollection underscores the sheer terror and confusion of that day, highlighting the human experience amid the natural disaster. He wrote, "You could hear the shrieks of women, the wailing of infants, and the shouting of men. Some were calling their parents, others their children or their wives, trying to recognize them by their voices. People bewailed their own fate or that of their relatives, and there were some who prayed for death in their terror of dying. Many besought the aid of the gods, but still more imagined there were no gods left, and that the universe was plunged into eternal darkness forevermore." Pliny the Elder perished at Pompeii, unable to save anyone. The exact causes of death for the people of Pompeii remain somewhat uncertain, but it is widely believed that most were smothered by ash and gas, crushed by collapsing buildings, or struck by falling debris. This explains why many bodies found by archaeologists appear largely intact. However, the fate of victims in other affected cities, like Herculaneum and Oplontis, was even more gruesome. According to National Geographic, these cities were likely hit by pyroclastic surges, devastating mixtures of ash, lava, and toxic gases. The most lethal aspects of these surges are their extreme heat and speed. This intense heat can flash fry a person to death, causing bodily fluids to boil instantaneously and potentially causing heads to explode as the brain's fluids vaporize. Within 10 minutes, all soft tissue would be incinerated. Strong evidence suggests that many victims in Herculaneum and Oplontis experienced this horrific fate, highlighting the varying and terrifying ways in which the eruption of Mount Vesuvius claimed lives across different regions. If Egypt has taught us anything, it's that the sanctity of the dead often goes unrespected, with tombs being looted almost immediately after they were sealed. The same holds true for Pompeii. Despite being a final resting place for thousands, grave robbers are more interested in the valuables buried with the victims. The residents fleeing the eruption often took their possessions with them, making it easy for thieves to locate these items. Pompeii, rediscovered in the 1700s, has seen grave robbers remain active to this day. The official Pompeii website describes archaeologists finding tunnels dug in the ash and skeletal remains of 6 individuals scattered around, evidence of human disturbance rather than volcanic damage. In 2016, a shop was uncovered showing signs of looting, although a hoard of gold coins was luckily missed by the thieves. In 2017, tomb raiding became so rampant that archaeologists raced to excavate new areas before they were found by criminals. Not all thefts involve digging tunnels. Some visitors simply pocket items as souvenirs. Many of these tourists later regret their actions. According to The Telegraph, authorities have received numerous packages containing returned items, with the repentant thieves believing the stolen objects brought them bad luck. This ongoing struggle with looting and theft highlights the challenges of preserving Pompeii's archaeological integrity while illustrating a broader human tendency to disregard the sacredness of the past in the pursuit of treasure. Perhaps the worst thing to happen to Pompeii since the eruption was its prolonged neglect. This wasn't the fault of the early archaeologists in the 1800s, but those overseeing the site during the latter half of the 20th century. In 2008, The Guardian reported that the Italian government had declared a state of emergency at Pompeii, not due to an impending eruption, but because of the site's severe disrepair. Conditions were described as squalid, with the historic area plagued by souvenir hawkers, fake parking attendants, and bogus tour guides. The site had few signs, minimal security, and only 3 bathrooms. Additionally, the still-buried third of Pompeii was being used as an illegal trash dump. More alarming, according to Reuters, was the decades of neglect suffered by this UNESCO World Heritage Site. Visitors were shocked by the decay, with frescoes and stones that had survived nearly 2,000 years deteriorating rapidly. Thousands of pieces were being lost annually. Restoration efforts that began in 1978 had made little progress. The culture minister at the time declared that calling the situation intolerable was an understatement, prompting a year-long state of emergency. A special commissioner was appointed to salvage the site before human negligence and selfishness could further damage Pompeii. This state of emergency underscored the urgent need for preservation efforts, as Pompeii faced destruction not from volcanic forces, but from human indifference. Mount Vesuvius, the volcano that obliterated Pompeii, remains one of the most dangerous in the world. Its infamous eruption in 79 AD buried towns and claimed thousands of lives, but the most destructive eruption occurred in 1631. Despite its lethal history, the area around Vesuvius is still considered prime real estate. Today, 6 million people live near Vesuvius, with 3 million at serious risk if it erupts again, according to Volcano Discovery. Vesuvius is particularly menacing because it tends to erupt with little warning. Unlike some volcanoes that give off smaller eruptions as a precursor, Vesuvius can remain quiet for long periods before unleashing a massive, deadly explosion. Its eruption cycle is also shorter than many other volcanoes. This makes Vesuvius more dangerous than some supervolcanoes. The Italian government has developed several evacuation plans for another potential eruption. At least 600,000 people would need to be evacuated from the immediate risk zone on the volcano's lower slopes. However, there is significant uncertainty about the effectiveness of these plans, and it seems likely that not everyone would be saved in such a scenario. The constant threat posed by Vesuvius underscores the need for vigilant monitoring and robust emergency preparedness to protect those living in its shadow.